Hello and welcome to the Deep End Gaming Podcast, a podcast where we take a look at the deeper end of the board gaming hobby. Whew, it's been a while since I've said that. Today, I am joined by my fellow host, Clay Ross, owner of Capstone Games, Sexual Dynamo, successful Kickstarter creator, and infamous advocate against the colorblind. Ryan Metzler, the Dice Tower ambassador of Heavy Games and runner-up in the Midwest's sexiest Soul Patch contest. And I'm Joe Wiggins. If you care to know who I am or what I do, if you were to think of the Deep End Podcast as a classic anthology of morally self-important animated features, I would be The Princess and the Frog. We are a podcast about heavy games for heavy gamers and definitively answering the question, how do you top your Sundays? Clay, man, it's been a busy month for you, busy couple months. We haven't been able to have a podcast.
I miss those intros, man. I really do. That was a lot. You never know what's coming, man. Yeah.
So tell us what you've been up to and tell us how you like to eat your Sundays.
Just been doing a lot of convention prep because, again, we're starting the whole season now. But got a game night tomorrow scheduled before we hit the road to Columbus. So really excited for it. But for the Sundays, I'm plain Jane, man. I like vanilla ice cream and strawberry ice cream, and then just put some whipped cream or whatever on. I don't like a lot of toppings. I like it just plain. I'm plain Jane.
Simple man. He likes to save that hot fudge for his body. All right.
Oh, yeah. Get it up.
I don't know. Food plays its own thing. So, anyways, speaking of which, Ryan, how are you doing? Tell us about all the kinky stuff you've been up to.
Man, I've been doing nothing but traveling for work. Kind of holding down 2.5 jobs right now. So not really a lot of gaming. Did make it out to HeavyCon, which I think we'll probably touch on briefly at some point here because Clay and I were both there. And in terms of Sundays, let me first say that I drastically misunderstood the question as you said it. I was like, top my Sunday. What is it? Like how?
Oh, like on the day.
Am I trying to make this Sunday better than the last Sunday? What's happening? And I guess that is part of it.
We all know that on Sunday you're going to find Ryan at church.
That's right. Yes, definitely.
Because Ryan loves Jesus
so much. I am not a big ice cream eater, to be honest with you. So I don't think I've had a Sunday, like an actual Sunday, in probably years, at the least, and maybe over a decade. I would say I just like ice cream by itself.
All right, dude. That's the way to do it. That's the right answer.
Okay, so we'll come back around to this, but I've definitely got to say that, again, not the biggest Sunday guy, but something that I will never turn down is a peanut butter parfait from Dairy Queen. You've got the hot fudge.
Sucks so much, though.
But man, there's something about that, like, mix between those. Why am I even going to do this to myself? Those salty nuts and that hot fudge.
Love them. Just love them.
I didn't even think about that, but yeah,
it's really just the way they feel in your mouth, right? I mean,
it's a mouthfeel thing. It really is. It's a texture and flavor explosion.
Of course it is.
No, but so let's take it back a step. If you're just a plain ice cream eater, what flavor of ice cream is your go-to?
Ooh, for me or for Clay?
Both.
All right, I'll go first. Right now, we have found a flavor that is amazing, and it's just a Southern butter pecan. But oh my god, it's amazing!
I hate butter pecan.
Okay, then as a secondary option, there's a local creamery here that is, I don't remember what they're called right now, but they make something called Caramel Collision that basically has Rolos in it, little tiny Rolos, and vanilla ice cream with caramel swirl and then Rolos in it. It's amazing.
He's a caramel guy. He likes caramel.
Hell yeah.
What about you? What about you, Clay? What are you going to go for ice cream?
Dude, straight up anytime, strawberry. That's it.
Strawberry. Oh, okay.
Drop the mic.
I get
bro.
a strawberry mood. So I've kind of gotten really addicted to this one flavor that Ben & Jerry's has put out called One Sweet World. And it's coffee flavored ice cream with caramel and marshmallow swirl,
Yeah, that
which
sounds
is it really and like my wife was like, oh, that sounds terrible. But then when she tried it, she was like, oh yeah, this is amazing. There's better ice cream out there than Ben & Jerry's, but in a pinch, it does the job, and it does the job well. And they do really good like mix-ins. I like their mix-ins that they do.
You don't like that? You're not a core, the core one where
No, I hate the core stuff. I don't touch the cores, man.
this is the core, by the way.
Well, maybe if they made a salty nut core.
Yeah,
Then he's in.
I'm all about it. All right. Well, that's the podcast, guys. Glad you joined us.
Yeah, that's all we have time for. We'll catch you in 6 months.
And good night.
Oh, it was a good one. All right, we're going to talk about some games, guys. We know why you're here. We have been busy. We've taken a couple months off. All of us have had like crazy couple of months just busy. Ryan literally is never at home. Clay is, I don't know what he's doing. He is running a Kickstarter, and his porn career is just like gone to the stratosphere. I just sit at home all day. So honestly, I'm just waiting for these guys to have a free day. But we're back. We are still doing the podcast. Podcast is not over. But that's why we don't have a regular release schedule, because we just do this when we want to, and it's for fun. But support us on Patreon.
No.
No, we're gonna talk about games. We're gonna talk about games that we've been playing. All right, games that we've been playing, and we're gonna just go ahead and jump right into it. Ryan, why don't you kick us off? Tell us about a game that you have gotten to play, probably at HeavyCon, if I'm not mistaken.
Probably at HeavyCon, and probably for the last time, despite the fact that I liked it. Had a chance to sit down and play John Company I believe it's by Cole, right? Cole Worley.
Yeah.
And really enjoyed it. I don't even know how to go about describing it.
You're running a family. You're running a company.
You're running a company, but you're running a company with other players, trying to promote your people to the appropriate stations within that company to manipulate the money so that you can make the money rather than everybody else, right? I mean, that's the whole goal, is to further the position of your own people in order to siphon money out of the company for yourself, in a way that doesn't necessarily benefit the company, but may benefit the company. There's a lot of options going on there.
It's like you want to keep the company doing just well enough that you are not easily identifiable as the person that's making out with all the cash.
Right. Exactly. Or in my case, you want to tank the company fast enough that you're the only person with enough to do anything. But that didn't happen. So I really enjoyed it. I like it a lot. It has an interesting kind of seeding of actions that require you to place people in the right positions to make a kind of a long-term play on a move. Again, I'm not sure I'm ever going to have the opportunity to develop strategies for it, but it was a good time. Plays pretty quickly, despite the fact that I think it might be impossible to learn really well from the rule book. It's not a terrible teach. So, if I have another opportunity, I'd play it again for sure. But
yeah,
unfortunately,
I think me and Andrew Dennison really went to town on this one last episode, which was like in 2015. Right. But we're like, I'm like 6 plays deep into this, and this is easily my favorite game for several years. Like, if I go back year after year after year after year, this is going to be like top of my list out of all of those years. I'm just kind of in love with how interesting it is. Like, I mean, if you like heavy games, you're in it for the decisions, and there's a lot of decisions here. It's not so much like a strategy thing. It's more of a lever pulling, what can I do kind of thing. But the decisions are pretty deep and can have some very dramatic consequences. But I'm also a real big fan of negotiation too. which is a driving force in this game.
So I thought that was going to turn me off from it because I'm not a big negotiation fan, particularly open negotiation. But that's the nice thing about this is while it's relatively open with what you can discuss, there are concrete things that you are essentially trading away at times that can come back to you in a very predictable is not the right word, but measurable way. You can keep an eye on what promises you have out there, and hopefully have some idea of when they might come back to either bite you or might not. So I thought that was a good way of handling negotiations to a level where it keeps it shorter and a little bit more predictable than just widespread open negotiation.
It's definitely a game where if you're a really good like wheeler and dealer, you can definitely get ahead.
Sure.
It's very much about convincing the other players that what you're doing is the best interest for the game as a whole. It's interesting. So, but those events can F things up, huh?
Or at least better for them than it is for everybody else.
Right.
Except for maybe you.
True.
So.
All right, but that is John Company. Clay played a prototype of this one time. I think it has definitely progressed a lot further. If I remember, Clay, you weren't too thrilled with that prototype play we had a couple years ago.
Yeah, I like the way I remember you go around the track, how it goes around with the different parts of the business, I think. And that person that has the seat gets to make the decision, which is really cool. There was a shipping that involved rolling dice that really did not sit well with me. But again, this was a prototype, so a long time ago. I do want to try it again because everybody I've talked to is like, you got to try it. It's really unique. It's really cool. I didn't get a chance to play it at HeavyCon, but yeah, it looks beautiful too on the table.
Those actions do still involve rolling dice, and if you can get the funds to
mitigate it,
the dice, then you can all but guarantee success. The problem is getting the funds to get the dice to guarantee the success.
Unless you're the one giving the funds.
Well, that is the case, right? I mean, if you're the one giving the funds, then it's not a problem. But
so the way that it works, then it's more of a negotiation aspect, and I think that's really unique because you're not just like, okay, let's roll the dice and hope it wins.
Well, if the funds are there is also another portion of it.
I made sure the funds were never there. So
Lone City. Yeah, it's funny because
cool.
I played this game and it can be no money or it can be just rich. So I don't know. It's different every time I play it. Depends on the players. All right. Well, I'm going to move into the next game and talk about something that I have weirdly got to the table twice in the last couple of weeks. I was at game night, and me and some other players that enjoy heavier games were trying to figure out what to play, and this got brought up, and we're like, yeah, it's been a while. So we brought this game out, and then a couple days later, most of the same people were at my house for game night, and we're like, we had about 2 hours and we're trying to decide what to play. And we're like, oh, let's play that again. And this is At the Gates of Loyang. At the Gates of Loyang is, I feel, Uwe Rosenberg's most underappreciated game. People, especially in the heavy game world, a lot of people are super into like Le Havre, Agricola, or Labora. I feel like you can walk into a heavy con and find, even dispersions of people that will argue those three are his best game. You also have your Glass Road fanatics. You have your Caverna better than Agricola people that are wrong and are just not as, well put together as the rest of us in the world. But not a lot of people are advocates for At the Gates of Loyang. A lot of people are like, oh, it's okay. But then also a lot of people just haven't played it. It's very different from a typical Uwe Rosenberg. So in this game, you are, your Chinese farmers planting Chinese crops. And there's a definitely card mechanism where you're basically playing cards to the center of the table so that you can play cards from your hand and from the table at the same time to kind of build a tableau, to like get special actions, to get more farms, to get merchants that you can trade with. It is the most economic of all of Uwe Rosenberg's games. It has the most of a money engine building type of a system to it. And I would definitely say that if you have played most of Uwe Rosenberg's games, but you have just for some reason avoided this one, I think that that's a shame, because I think this is a great, fantastic game if you go into it with the mindset that it's not an Agricola clone. It's a very different animal. It's beautiful. It's I highly recommend it. I don't know what your guys' thoughts on At the Gates of Loyang is. I just feel like it doesn't get the recognition I feel it deserves.
Yeah, that's that one in what is it, Mercator? I think that's how you say it. Mercator, whatever. Those are the two I haven't played, but any Uwe game, I mean, you have to give it a shot. I mean, that guy is so phenomenal at designing games. You have to give it a shot. No excuses. So, and I haven't. So, and I don't have an excuse.
Yeah,
but
I think it's really good. I don't own a copy anymore, and that's because I think it's, as you stated, it's kind of a little bit harder to get to the table than Agricola or Le Havre or, you know, pick an Uwe. It just doesn't seem to appeal to as many people, but the economic aspect of it is what makes it somewhat unique for Uwe, and it's a great game. Plays really well at I don't remember if it goes down to 2, but I remember it playing well at 3, 4.
So it does play well at 2. 3-player is, I feel, its sweet spot.
Yeah, that's what I remember about it.
4-player has this weird mechanic. So if you remember, Ryan, there's this mechanic in 4-player where if I choose my card last, I get to partner with someone else at the table, and the person that goes second to last gets to partner with the other person that I didn't choose. But those other people have to wait for you to finish your turn, because you can only interact through the cards with that one person. So if I'm playing cards and then buying more cards, because you can buy a 2-pack and put more cards out, you have to wait till I'm completely done with my turn before my partner can go to see if he interacts with me. So that's like the weird 4-player thing. You can get over it. It's not a deal breaker for 4 players, but it does kind of make it drag on a little bit, because you're like, okay, hurry up, play your turn. And then you're just kind of waiting on this person like, oh, do I want to play this card? I don't know. You know?
Yeah. It's been years, I mean, since I've played it, but I remember 3 being really good. So,
yeah. All right, Clay, tell us about your stupidly named game.
Hey, this is an old school game. So at HeavyCon, my buddy Chris Snyder, he lives in Taiwan, and he came over and brought a bunch of weird games. And there's a game called Packin' Veers. And essentially what you're doing is you are furniture movers, and you're trying to figure out, there's 3 different furniture movers. And there's, I think, 5 different levels to this apartment complex.
With those damn popsicle stick bastard things.
Yeah, there's like 3 different difficulty levels, but to save some time, you have like little tiny popsicle sticks. Okay, just remember that. But once the delivery happens, whenever you got to find out where this guy's going to go deliver a certain type of furniture, you take that furniture set up. It could be a table, it could be an armoire, could be some chairs, whatever. You put it on this floor tile, and on the back of the box is a layout of the apartment with where the little furniture goes. This furniture is literally dollhouse furniture, just the plastic pieces. They actually have moving doors. You can pull out the drawers. It's really just, it looks like a dollhouse furniture. So you put it on the floor.
I'm sold already.
Dude, you got to look it up. Just type in Packin' on Board Game Geek, but you start out on the floor, and you have to lift it up onto the back of the box in the apartment room, and then you have to push it into its right position. The problem is you have those tiny popsicle sticks, so you as the player will select somebody else to help you move the furniture with that popsicle stick. And it starts off pretty easy, like you got like a chair and then a table or whatever, and as the game progresses, it's like the table and then there's 2 chairs on top of it. So as you're lifting it up, it's so hard to balance it. It's a great game, man. It's just a lot of laughs, a lot of silly fun. It's just everybody had a great time with it. It got pretty rowdy at night with that, but just a unique game.
I saw it being played. It looked interesting.
Yeah, you get so into it. You're like, all right, man, I got to stand up out of my seat. I got to like get in position to lift this furniture. It's just like,
was I watching you play?
I don't know, man. There was a big, every time anybody plays this, it's a big crowd.
Were you over by the shelving units in the back?
Yes.
Yeah, I think I watched you play.
I had trouble with the table. I could never do it, man. It's just it's a pain. But dude, it's really good. It's from the guy that did D-Mocker. It's the sequel.
That's right. The sequel to D-Mocker.
Sequel?
It's the sequel to D-Mocker.
Oh, okay. You heard it here first, guys.
Packing
All right,
gears.
cool. Well, Ryan's going to talk about a controversial game, apparently.
Yeah, so it's not heavy, but I feel that it needs discussed.
Oh god.
So it's actually like the exact opposite of heavy. It is the lightest game I think I've ever played.
Well, hold on.
Call it a game, by the way.
Yeah, I was going to say, if you can even call it a game.
If you can call it a game. And that is the ongoing phenomenon of the mind. And let me just start this. All of you who have sensitive ears, go away. But fuck this game. Like, seriously, this is such bullshit. I don't understand why this game is popular. I don't understand why people are having fun. I don't understand anything about why this is interesting. My wife and I sat down. We got it. I ordered it from Germany, right? And I was like, it's the sequel to The Game. The Game is excellent, by the way. The Game. Not The Mind. Not The Game, The Mind.
The Game.
The Game.
The game, not The Game, The Mind.
Correct. Exactly. That's an excellent game. This is like the spiritual successor, except for that this one doesn't have a game. And so if you haven't played this yet, and I'm imagining maybe many of our followers haven't played it yet, this game is about counting, much like The Game, from 1 to 99. And you do so over a series of levels where you have a number of cards in your hand. So level 1, you'll have 1 card in your hand. Level 2, you'll have 2 cards in your hand. Level 3, you'll have 3 cards in your hand. And without talking, gesturing, moving, blah, you are supposed to sit in a circle and stare at the other players like an idiot. And then figure out who has the lowest card, and that player is supposed to play it. Now, this game is relatively easily broken, in my opinion, if you have a decent sense of time in your head, and all of the other players also have a decent sense of time in their head. Because while the game apparently tells you you're not supposed to count in the secret little upside-down box in the rules that says, you shouldn't count, everybody counts in their head a relative amount of time, right? You're thinking about a relative amount of time. You're kind of going through and you're like, it's been a pretty significant amount of time. And the goal would be to time that out and play the cards. And if you do that, you will win. I don't know. The game is bad. I really hate it. I hate it so much. I don't know if I've ever hated a game more. Every time we played it, we stopped in the middle of it because I'm like, I can't do it. It's so bad. I can't do it.
Coming from you, man.
Let me jump in here with a slight counterpoint. I love this game so much. Oh my goodness, I love this game.
Can we stop calling it a game? It's not a game.
It is the most interesting, unique thing I have played in quite some time, where the fact that you are literally relying on a set of like social cues that are made up on the spot with whatever people that you're playing with. So I have played this probably like 40 times at this point, and never once have I counted in my mind. Like I haven't sat there and gone 1, 2, 3, 4, trying to like play cards like that. It's all about looking at the other players, reading the other players, and so I love it because there are points where you get your cards and one person plays the 3, and then the next person plays the 7, and then somebody plays the 13, and you're sitting with a 62 in your hand.
So much excitement.
Right, but you're sitting there with a 62 in your hand, and then somebody across the table is sitting there with a 57. So you're like in that ballpark, and everyone's like, I'm not going to put a 50 or a 60 card down on top of the 17. But when you realize there's only like 3 other cards in the entire game that haven't been played, you're like, and that mind starts to, and you stare at each other, and there's some kind of unspoken weird thing that happens where you're like, I don't know. And then you play the 50 card and it's like, yes, that was correct. And I don't know, like the sensations that this game gives you is different than anything. It's such a interesting experiment. It's not a game, but I feel like as a social experiment, there are very interesting things that are said about this game.
The only sensation it gives me is anger.
I would never have guessed that, Ryan. I never would have guessed that.
So my immediate comments on it, I went on Twitter and I was like, this game's fucking dumb because you can just count in your head.
And they canceled your show on ABC.
That's fine. But I'm like, you can just count it in your head. And then somebody was like, well, the rules say don't count. So don't count. And so I'm reading the rules, right? I'm reading from top to bottom. I go through the rules and I'm like, where in this rule book does it say don't count? And the answer is in the part they tell you not to read. So if you read the rule book, it says, hey, if you haven't played this before, we recommend you don't read this box at the bottom, right? Don't read it because it tells you the secret of the game. And I was like, cool, not going to read it. Don't want to know the secret of the game. So we sit down and we start playing it. And I'm like, if I want to beat this, all I have to do is have a decent sense of time and count in my head, 1, 2, 3, as long as the other people are on track with me, which they can be after, you might fail the first time through, right? But you sync your time up. And over the period of the first couple levels, it's relatively easy to sync your time up, especially in a 2-player game, because there's 2 damn cards, right? So I'm like, okay, I have the 27. I wait for a while, I play the 27. Then, so I post this online, and somebody's like, well, you're not allowed to count. Well, you are allowed to count until you read the box at the bottom that says, hey, you shouldn't be counting. So if you don't want me to count, put it in the fucking rules. Don't put it in the secret box at the bottom that says don't do this. I broke the game before you told me to think about not breaking the game.
Like, I never even read that. So I've never read the rules. I was just told the game and then played the game. So to me, I never counted because I never understood the whole counting concept. But that makes total sense. Like, if you say don't count, everyone's going to be like, oh, well, if
that ruins the game. I don't know why you would even put that in the box. Like, why would you?
But they did. They put it in the box, and I didn't read the box and then think, oh yeah, I can just count. No, I put the game down, started looking at it, and went, I could just count, and then I win the game.
I would also say it's not. I don't think something that's great with 2 either.
I've tried it with more. Don't get me wrong. Every group that I've played it with, we start and they go, this is fucking dumb. I can just count. And that's the end of it. We literally stop a couple levels into it because everybody's just like, I hate this game. I hate it. And maybe it's just the people I play with, right? But we all hate it. Hate it.
It's those Wisconsin people, man. Whew.
Clay, have you played this?
Yeah. Okay, I haven't played the full game, but Jessica Davis, the one that's been on Twitter a lot talking about it. She's really cool. She's nice. She taught us how to play it at Gamma. And honestly, like, it's not for me. I don't. It's okay. It's like Hanabi. It's just not my style.
No. It's nothing like Hanabi. Hanabi is good.
I don't like Hanabi either. But
I don't like Hanabi either.
The small stuff is just not for me, man. I'd rather do something else. I'd rather like mow the lawn or do some yard work, or I don't know. It's just
stick like toothpicks underneath my fingernails. Just really anything.
It's just not for me, man.
Run over my foot with a lawnmower.
Yeah, a root canal. Have you read Misery? Because, getting run over by a riding lawnmower, also an option.
I appreciate the telepathy that can potentially feel like it's happening when you're playing with it, but it's just it's not.
I like
me,
it.
Man.
I think it's interesting. I think it's weird.
It's a polarizing game. You're gonna like it, or you're gonna hate it. That's it. So there's no in between.
So let's move on to another potentially polarizing game. I played a game called QE. Have you guys seen this game?
Yes, it's awesome.
I think I saw it, but have no idea as to what it is.
So it's a big piece of wood, which
I saw
is
that.
stupid in its own right.
It's like it's a piece of wood with some like Meeple Realty custom pieces, is what it reminds me of. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Like those thin balsa wood style with like some
I got a
laser
big argument. I got in a big argument with somebody about whether or not this game is overproduced, and I feel like overproduced is a different thing. I feel like this game is just stupidly produced. Like, I don't know why you would make a game out of a piece of wood when it doesn't need to be.
I'm looking at the board right now, and it just looks like an ugly Monopoly board made out of wood, but without any of the graphic design.
I mean, that's a score track. It's not really.
I know, but anyways, if you looked at it, it's reminiscent of that.
He's like, it
so somebody's like, yeah, it's really overproduced. I'm like, is it overproduced or just really stubbornly produced? Like, oh, I'm going to make this out of a piece of wood. Anyways, that's neither here nor there. QE is an auction game, and I infamously love me an auction game, and I love me a really interesting auction game, you know? But in this game, what happens is you are, Ryan, showing the thing up.
The stupid board.
Yeah.
That's a good board. That's the one I didn't play on. That's the newer version.
So what the person, basically one person will take a tile, draw a tile, and they will get to place a bid on that tile. And so they're going to write down a bid, and there's some dry erase stuff. And so you basically write down a bid. Then all the other players secretly write down a bid or secretly pass. If you pass, you get a couple of like bonus points or whatever. If you bid, whoever gets the highest bid wins the tile. And you're collecting these tiles through winning the bids. And then
but you don't know you know who wins, but you don't know their bid.
But you don't know how much they bid. Right.
Yeah.
But the person that auctioned does, because they look at all the bids secretly and give it to the highest. But you also know how much you bid, and you know that if they beat you, so that's something. Like if I bid like if let's say the bid's 5, right? And I bid 17, which is way higher, but then Ryan wins it. I'm like, Ryan bid more than 17. I'm gonna check that mental note, right? So with all of this weird idea behind it, I don't think it's very good. And I'm sorry to the designer, and I'm sorry to the people that are kind of like really hyping this game, but I just, like, me and everybody else that were playing it, like my group got done with it, and we're going to talk about this at the end, and we just kind of looked at each other and we're like, okay. And I'm telling you, this is a vicious Noah Heimet group. These are people that love auctions. We are cutthroat when it comes to games. We were very hyped going into this, knowing that people were talking about it, that it was supposed to be something special, that it's an auction game. And man, we got done with it. We're just like, okay, like we're like, let's play the mind again.
No.
I can't play the mind. You can do the mind, but you can't play it. This is not a game.
I will do your mind.
Right. By the way, I want to state specifically that I am not apologetic to the designer of the mind. You apologize to the designer of QE, and I don't apologize to the designer of the mind.
Ryan's like, the designer of the mind apologizes to me.
No, I think the game was an excellent game, but the mind is not.
Oh my god.
So I think QE is just I just thought it was just plain just not interesting. I don't think, like, when we got done and we scored and we're like, oh, you bid the most, you lose, that wasn't that interesting. And then when it was like, oh, I just got some like set collection points and that's it. And so there's like, everyone's trying to say like, oh, there's this so interesting back and forth auction mechanism that you're trying to figure out what the other play. And I'm like, no, you just bid and then you win tiles, and it's not very interesting, and it's ugly. And it doesn't have a box. It's just a piece of wood with some stuff in a bag that you have to throw on your shelf. It's annoying. It's really, really dumb. I don't like it.
So from this, I'm hearing that it's Secret Raw.
Similar to that. Yes. But okay.
Which doesn't sound good.
Joe.
No, Raw is excellent, by the way, but I don't know about Secret Raw.
I love Raw.
There's 4 things that you're bidding on when you're bidding on these tiles. And
yeah, you're bidding on 4 different aspects of set collection.
Yes. One of the set collection items is secret. You don't know what the other players have, but everything else is open information. And the other thing that's closed is what people are bidding. You don't know. Mm-hmm. The only thing you can judge that based on is what the auctioneer puts the starting, or the starting bid is whatever you want to call it, out there on the table. If everybody
know how much money people have,
that's the thing. That's the catch. with this
unlimited
game.
money.
Yes, it's quantitative easing. That's what QE means. So you're printing money. You're just printing money. Whatever you want to print.
Oh, this
get
sounds
this
stupid. All right, I'm out.
Hold on. Time out. Time out. The mind. All right. Let me get in. Let me get into your mind, and I'll convert
Good
you.
luck with that. You don't want to be there.
But you're printing money, and so like when you bid, you could bid 1,000. You could bid 1 trillion. I think Jeroen from Splatter was bidding trillions or something. But it's just this group effort where like our game, it was like it started off as like $1,000 was the starting bid, and then by the end of the game, you're bidding like $50,000-$60,000 just to get a tile.
Well,
and
that's ridiculous. If someone bids $1,000, everyone should pass, let them get it, and the rest of the people should just like pioneer themselves to like bid in the teens.
Well, then who's going to win? Because then like that guy's out. Okay, so Ryan, at the end of the game, you do all the scores for like set collection and stuff. So you're like, oh, cool, man, I got all these tiles. You know, I got like 55 points. Then you reveal all of your bids and you count up how much of those bids you won, what your total investment was. If you are the highest person that spent the most money, you're out. No matter what your score is, you're done. So and then it goes.
So he's right. If somebody bids 1,000, then everybody else just plays low.
Yeah, if everybody plays low, then how are you going to be sure that you're going to be able to win those bids though? To be
it's a game
first among
you
the
and them
three.
now.
Yeah, it becomes that mental game. How high will you go?
It's just like the mind. It's a mental exercise.
It is. Okay, so like because we're talking about the mind, yeah, it does relate to it a little bit, but it's better. I'm telling you that right now.
Well, I mean, that
so you
doesn't
should
take
try
much,
it.
so.
I would say no, the mind's a much better game because it actually does something interesting. I don't think QE does much interesting stuff other than the fact that it's on a stupid, dumb board. My God.
There's that word again, by the way. You keep calling the mind a game.
Oh my God.
All right. QE, not a fan.
I
and
like
we're going
it.
to talk about this a little bit later, but I got into an argument with somebody who basically said, I basically told him I didn't like it, and he's like, "Oh, well, that's because you didn't play with the right group." And I got pissed. I got so pissed about that, but we're going to talk about that later. Clay, tell us about. There's actually a theme here because I think all of these games really are very similar in this aspect. So go ahead and tell me about this game. Clay.
So again, at HeavyCon, the thing I like about HeavyCon is everybody brings the stuff that you don't really see a lot of, and Winsome games were everywhere, and I started playing a lot of those, and man, they're a lot of fun. I just kind of got into a little craze with playing these Winsome games, and I played Irish Gauge, and that was one of the meanest ones I've played. And I really like games that are tight, and they involve a lot of interactivity, and you can be mean with your decisions and how you affect other players. This game is it's just you're building rail networks, so you're investing in stocks to earn the most money by the end of the game. It's just a unique twist on all the different types of Winsomes that I've played, where you can affect the probability of a company paying out dividends. That's really about the best I can do with describing it, as you're building these networks of train tracks around Ireland. But the ability to affect if a certain company is going to pay out shares is really cool in the game, and it just gets another mental element to the game.
I would argue that every Winsome game is a twist on every Winsome game that came before it, because I think that's all a Winsome game is basically a hexagon map with cubes was made one day, and then someone's like, oh, what if we made a map that looked like this, and then the cubes did this, and that was another Winsome. And then someone's like, oh, but what if we took that one, and what if it worked like this? And basically it's like, what can we do with hexagon maps and cubes and make that a game? And I feel like that's how Winsome is, right?
Yeah, I like it because it's community effort, because you're invested in companies, 5 different types of companies, typically 5 or 6. There's a certain amount of shares in each company, and then there's a certain amount of cubes or track lays that you can do with each company. And it all fluctuates. It depends on the type of company. Like typically you'll have like a real big company with a bunch of cubes, but that company's going to have a lot of stocks. So when it pays dividends, you're going to get less of a share typically. But things like that, it's just a community involvement. It's very interactive because it's like, well, Joe's piling up on all these shares with this one company. I can't let him steal all the money when that company pays out dividends. So it just becomes this game. It's just like this interactive game and it's in an hour, which I like. So
this game is a game.
It's a game, guys.
Sorry, it was a funny comment to me. I couldn't help myself.
Did I say the game is a game?
You said it turns into this interactive game, and I'm like, well, I mean, it is a game.
Well, you're not playing like multiplayer solitaire here.
I got you. I understand what you're saying. It was just a funny comment to me.
I haven't played Irish Gauge, but I like Winsomes. I will play any Winsome you put in front of me. I think definitely, and if you talk to the right people, you'll find out Winsomes are tiered. So there's like really great Winsomes that have come out, and then there's like Winsomes that are like, okay, those are decent, those are worth playing, and then there's like a whole lot of Winsomes that are like, I'll play that one time, like we'll try that out, and they're just all very interesting experience. I actually started subscribing to the Winsome set last year, and I just got the email for the new set. I feel like Winsomes are an interesting look into gaming and how gaming works and how mechanisms affect things. They're interesting. They're experiments, basically, is the way I look at them.
Yeah, I fell in love with it. I just.
But you give Irish Gauge 2 thumbs up?
Oh yeah, that's that one in Northern Pacific, and then also there's a like Texas and West. You're going west basically. That was a really cool one that we played. So those 3 are like my favorite.
I will say they all have very, very interesting thematic names too.
It's geographic.
Very easy to distinguish which one's which.
Yeah, they're very geographic. I mean, I think they're easy because it's a geographically located like section of the board. But
I think if you sit down and play all the Winsomes, and then you're like, oh yeah, what was I really like Southern Pacific? Everyone's gonna be like, yeah, that was.
What was the twist on that one? That's what I would be asking. Like, what was the twist? And I don't know.
All right, Ryan, talk about your game.
Yeah, I have no idea how to pronounce the name of this game. It was taught to me as Cog, but it could be Kog or Koji or Kaga or a million different things. Kogge.
Hanakamoji?
Yeah, Hanamakoji. There you go.
Aplatano.
Yeah, it was that one too. It's a little Aplatano, some Koji, all that stuff. Anyhow, Kogge. It's a game about sailing and trading. I'm not sure of the theme, except for that it's sailing and trading, and apparently the world is shifting drastically insofar as the ways that you could reach locations change from round to round, turn to turn, and even sometimes action to action. And so you are in charge of a ship, which is apparently called a Cog or a Koji or something like that. And you're using these little tiles that you have at the start of the game that have numbers on them. So these numbers are used for a variety of things. They could be used for building like a trade house in the city you're in, as long as it matches one of the things that you have and you have the right goods. Or it could be used from sailing from, the locations that are at the place tell you where you can sail to. So a number 7 lets you sail to another number 7 if it's at the place that you're at. Sometimes the tiles are face down, so you can kind of choose the face down one and move to that location, the matching location on the board, without really knowing where you're going. And you're moving around trying to collect goods in order to establish these, I don't know what they're called, trade houses or markets or whatever you want to call them, in order to get to a race point of a certain number of points by the end of the game. The unique aspect is the use of those numbered tiles that you have. And you can buy more tiles. You can swap tiles out on the board, where you're trying to collect these tiles in order to accomplish these goals. But sometimes you don't know what the tile is because it's face down. If you don't have the goods to buy more tiles, you can quickly find yourself running out of options of things to do. If you haven't seen it before, there's really nothing I can compare it to directly. But the tile play is really interesting, and it gets even more interesting when you realize that those tiles are used to bid for turn order as well. So just because you have them and you can use them for actions out on the board doesn't mean that's why you're collecting them. You may be collecting multiple same number tiles in order to bid for turn order, because a 0 is beaten by a 1 is beaten by a 2, but 2 zeros beats a 9, or 3 zeros beats 2 1s, or things like that. So you're collecting these tiles for various different reasons, and trying to manipulate the board state so you can get to where you want to go to collect the resources that you need to build the things that you want to build to win the game. It's very interesting. I liked it a lot. I have it on my want and trade list, but there's nobody in the United States with a copy for trade, so that may not happen.
Oh, the joy of liking interesting, weird, hard to find games.
Exactly. It's another in a long line of things that will eventually be found, but right now does not exist. So,
yep. So I'm going to talk about a game that I played recently a few times, and this is a oldie but a goodie. I feel. This is a game that most people will know as the Rondel game. This is Shipyard. So Shipyard is a game that was put out by CGE. It is not, I would say, typical CGE fare. I feel like CGE really has like a feel that they go for with their games. And I feel like Shipyard sits directly outside of like what CGE has kind of branded itself as. They're getting broader, but it feels like a very interesting, different game, right? It's not a Vlada game. It's a Vladimir Suchy game. And it even is very different from a lot of the games that he's put out. Is it Vladimir Suchy?
Yes.
Shipyard Vladimir Suchy?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Sounds right.
Yeah. So Shipyard is an economic game where there are like 20 rondels that you use to take your action. So basically you have a rondel where you choose an action and that action will affect a rondel. And that possibly would be inside of another rondel. So people say that, but there's just one rondel that's inside of another rondel. They don't really affect each other, but I guess they ran out of room on the board or something.
There are multiple rondels, yes.
There are 1, 2, 3, 4. There's a lot.
It's a lot of rondels. It's a lot of.
There's a lot of rondels. But basically, the game is all about using these different actions and paying for extra actions, which is a huge part of the game. And I think knowing how to do that effectively and when to do that is the key to being better at this game than just someone that like knows the rules and can play it competently. But it's an economic game about putting ships together, putting the right things on your ships to get a confluence of points when your ship sails. Your ship needs a route to sail on. It needs a captain. It needs at least something to make it go, whether that be sails or a propeller or something. It needs all of these things in order to go. And the more stuff that's on it, whether you have businessmen and cranes or guns and soldiers or life preservers, whatever the thing is, you have some secret goals that you're trying to go for. You have some special tiles that you can pick up that kind of give you a little bit of a difference engine than the other people that you're playing against. It's a game that I don't feel, again, is up there in that pantheon of like, this is an amazing game and people talk about it all the time, you know, like in Agricola. But I feel like this solidly sits in a category of this is every time I play it, I'm like, this game is way better than anybody says it is, or this game deserves to be talked about way more than it is. So I wanted to kind of take some time and highlight it because I feel like if you like that solid, strong, mid-weight Euro, you know, that Feld, Uwe Rosenberg, the games that kind of sit in that realm of gaming, and you really enjoy that or have a partner that really enjoys those types of games, this is something that I feel like is it's different enough to really set itself apart, but also sits in that weight class of games where it's a good, competent, medium weight Euro that deserves more love than what it gets. And it's really, really good. Do you guys have any opinions on Shipyard?
Strongly agree with everything you said.
Yeah. We talked about this. I think I mentioned Kraftwagen with Matthias Frommer in an earlier episode, and you guys were like, oh man, you like rondels like that? Try Shipyard. It's got like 1 million of them in there. And we got on a little like tangent on that, and I just bought it that night, and it's still on my shelf.
It's so much better than Kraftwagen. It's so much better.
Is it play well with 2?
Yes, it does.
Okay, that's awesome because I can get the wife to play with me then.
It's a lot heavier than Kraftwagen, just for the record.
Good, because I like Kraftwagen, but it's leaves some to be desired.
Super light, yeah.
Yeah, so Shipyard does look really cool, though. Hearing Joe talk about it, I mean, that does sound really cool, how you have to have like all the pieces to go together to be able to navigate your ship.
It's not just that. It's also how many ships are you going to build? You can build more than one ship, but are you going to effectively build multiple ships at the same time? Yeah.
Yeah, I love games like that, man. Those are my type of games.
I actually handily won a game of Shipyard against a friend of mine just a couple days ago, and he had built several like very steady medium-sized ships, and I built one massive giant ship with so much stuff on it and shipped it, and it did like nothing. But like when I revealed what my end game bonus points are for, I was like, he's like, oh, that sucks. I was like, yeah.
What was it, like just a massive ship you have to have or something?
I put like 50 captains on it.
Oh,
like
so did you have life preservers? What was the thing? Because that can be a big one too.
It was captains. And so I was able to put like, I basically launched like 3 ships, but one of them was gigantic and the rest I just threw out. But like each one of them had like so many captains on it. And I had like the rule breaker that let me put extra captains that didn't have to be in rooms. So it was, I just captains. Like ran away with it.
You have like 9 captains doing a little yacht. Like, oh, I got to go this way. No, let's go this way.
He's like, that's not going to score you a lot of, oh, I see what you're doing. So it's good. It's really, really good. But Clay, I've actually played the game you're about to talk about. So let's go ahead and tell me all about this one.
Yeah, so probably my favorite experience at HeavyCon was playing Bus, and I played it with Jeroen from Splotter, Chris Snyder, Larry Rice, Aaron Thompson, and myself. So it was a 5-player game, and Bus is one of the early, I think it's from 1999, and the artwork is typical Splotter fare, but the gameplay,
I would say it's a few notches under typical Splotter.
I don't know. I think it would do really well in the running against Food Chain. I really do.
You can actually see what the art is supposed to be.
Okay. So the Bus is really bad. Okay. It's like kindergartner drew the map. Okay. And but yeah, it's old school worker placement. I don't know if it was Kalis before this game. I don't think it was, but this is definitely worker placement. What's really cool is it's a pick up and deliver game. So you're delivering people to different locations in the city. There's 3 locations. Everybody starts off at home. Then they want to go to work. And then after work, they go to the pub for some beer. And then after the pub, they go back home. So they do that cycle throughout this game. Every round, they're going to go to the new location. So if they're in the home, the next round, you know that they're going to go to work. So that's kind of like where you know where the people are going to go on the map. You're building a bus line throughout the city, and as you're doing that, you have these cubes. These are, I think everybody starts with like 20 or something like that. And what's really cool is every round you can play as many cubes as you want. You can do as many actions as you want. But once you use one of your actions, it's gone from the game. So there's an interesting dynamic that happens at the end of the game, which I'll get into in a second. But there's a twist on it. I'm not doing a really good job of explaining it, I know. But once you get to the delivery phase, there's a potential that somebody could freeze time and they will not go to the next location. So they'll stay at all the home locations in that example. It's just a really cool mechanic. I love it because it's pick up and deliver with worker placement. You can do as many actions as you want on your turn. It can really mess with people. It plays in like 90 minutes to 2 hours. But it's super deep, man. It's super deep.
It's really mean too. Like I played this recently too for the first time. We decided to bust it out, and man, it was really cutthroat.
Yeah, we played a 5-player game. At the end of the game, because again, you can play as many actions as you want, but you only have a limited amount. It was me and Jeroen with, I think, 2 actions, and everybody else couldn't do anything in the last round. So we essentially had an extra delivery that we could do, and that's how you earn points, is by delivering people throughout the city. Scores are low, like 10 points would be the max that you're ever going to get in this game. So it was me and Jeroen at the end of the game being able to deliver. So you really need to focus on where you're spending your actions. But it also, like, if you're delivering before somebody else, you can really, really screw people over by taking a person and delivering it, because you know that like Joe, for example, could also deliver that person. So it's mean. It's awesome.
So one of the interesting things I think is there's a couple of different actions, and some of them, when you place a cube, you're the first one to do it. But some of them, when you place a cube, you're the last one to do it. And that means that you might not even get to take that action if those actions are all used up by the time it even gets to your cube. And so there's this thing where, I really want to do this action, so I'm going to put a cube there. But if I put a cube there, everyone else is just going to go, well, I'm going before you, and I'm going before you, and I'm going before you. And now you're like, do I want to spend another action to actually go before them? And so it becomes this very interesting thing like that. It's very weird.
So after playing this game, and I haven't played Antiquity or Roads and Boats, but I played.
What?
Yeah, calm down, the mind.
I like that nickname. I'll take it.
Ryan the Mind Metzler. Yeah, so I have Antiquity, I haven't played it. Roads and Boats, I haven't played it. But out of all of the other the big five or whatever, this needs to be included in that. It really does.
I don't agree with that at all.
Are you kidding me?
I'm gonna really, really strongly push against that.
You know what? It's a lot better than Great Zimbabwe.
Oh no!
That's because Great Zimbabwe is bad, though. So
yeah, this is an awesome game. This is super unique. It's that time element, the fact that you can go there and say, I'm going to screw everybody over this round, and you think that the guys are going to go to the next location. Nope, they're going to go to the same location that they went to the last round. That is awesome.
I feel that the big five stand on their own. And I feel very easily that Bus is like right outside of that realm. I just feel like Bus is like a step outside of that greatness that is the big five. And there's a lot of the other ones I haven't played. I haven't played Duck Dealer or Vok or Kansan, whatever the stuff is.
Yeah. This is my number 2, man, right behind Indonesia. But the thing is, Bus, it plays well 2, 3, 4, and 5. Indonesia, that's a 3 to 5. I call it a 3 to 4. 5 players is not really my type of game for Indonesia.
All right. Well, we have different opinions on where Bus ranks, but we both agree it's a game worth playing.
Yeah, for the record, before we move off of this topic, Bus does predate Kalis by 6 years, so quite a bit.
This is the first worker placement game. Then I would put that out there.
Fact.
Yeah, first worker placement game, and they blew it out of the water, man. They blew it out of the water because of the way the actions work, like Joe mentioned before.
And that's what we've been playing. And to get into the next topic, we are going to go into a podcast within a podcast, and we call this What You Watching. So this is where we're just going to talk a little bit about some of the movies, what we've been watching on TV, maybe give you guys some recommendations of stuff in the theater, and let you guys know what we've been up to, what we've been viewing. People ask us this a lot on email and stuff like that. They're like, oh, recommend movies to us, or have Ryan and Joe argue about whether or not Coco's any good, stuff like that. And
just watched it again, by the way. I just watched it again. It's
yeah,
good.
I'm sure you did, because you're a glutton for terrible Pixar movies. Anyways,
pretty good.
It's all right. So, anyways, Podcastception, What You Watching? Clay, tell us about something that you've been watching. Recommend something to us.
I gotta recommend Parks and Rec. I actually just watched one episode, so it was. Dude, that's, yeah, I know, right?
I'm very far into it. It's definitely
I'm so deep in it, guys. No, seriously, that's an all-star cast on that, man. There's like a lot of good people in that show.
Well, they weren't that great.
Yeah, that's where they got their roots. Yeah, I get it. But I'm just now experiencing it and laughing my ass off. It's an awesome show.
Clay went back to 2009.
Yeah. Have you guys heard of Seinfeld? I just started that too. I'm kidding.
So the thing about Parks and Recs is I feel there's a pie chart of my life, and a actual visible portion of it has been spent convincing people to stick with Parks and Rec past the first season.
Yeah,
the first season's a little rough, but once you get past that first season, it gets a lot better. And it is. The first season is really rough, and it gets so much better after that.
Because I like the first episode, man. It was good. It's funny, man.
I've seen several episodes, but I did not make it past the first season.
I think Parks and Rec better than The Office.
What?
Better
I'm
than
not
The
an Office fan. I'm not an
What?
The Office is. It's okay. It's just
Oh, my
kind of.
God.
I'm meh on The Office. There's some funny moments, but
I love The Office, but I think Parks and Rec is a better show.
good because there's more all-star cast.
Ryan, you haven't
Just gonna say
seen Parks and Rec all the way, so you don't have an opinion.
Nope.
that. Can't diss it.
Nope.
That's
But I
right.
just know
You are
the
the mind.
Office is amazing. So
Good. It is, and I think Parks and Rec is an amazing counterpoint to it. And I would not argue with anyone if they said they think The Office is better if they've seen both, but I prefer Parks and Rec. I like the characters better. I like
Sure.
April and Andy. That's where it's at.
What you
Way
got?
better
Daniel?
than Jim and Pam. All right, so I'm going to talk about a movie I actually just got back from like 20 minutes before this podcast started. I went tonight with a friend to go see Hereditary. So Hereditary is a horror movie that has been getting incredible buzz coming out of Sundance and festivals, all of the stuff like that. And basically, there has been a lot of like I haven't watched or listened to reviews on it. I haven't watched trailers. All I've been hearing is just like little tweets about and stuff like that. People that I follow a lot of movie critics and stuff like that. People saying better than The Exorcist or scarier than The Exorcist. Scariest movie I've ever seen. I don't know if I agree with that. So I've only sat with this movie for a little bit and I've been doing the podcast. So I haven't had time to collect my thoughts, but I will tell you this, no jump scares. There are no jump scares in this movie. They do not rely on jump scares at all. They just rely on an impending sense of dread. And everything in this movie is just super unsettling. It is very immersive. There are parts of this movie that are going to stick with me and make me go like for the rest of my life when I think about them. It is intense. Wow. I will say intense is the word that I would use. And I would not say like, oh, this is scarier than The Exorcist, because The Exorcist relies on this thing. And this movie does not rely on your typical horror stuff. It's a very different type of horror movie. And I really, really loved it. Like, and especially the main woman. The main woman, if she does not get nominated for an Oscar for acting, because she acts her ass off in this, like hardcore. It is one of the most interesting, compelling, terrifying movies I have seen in a very long time. And if you are a horror fan, I highly recommend it.
I used to watch scary movies all the time, man. And I don't know what happened, but it's just like I can't handle that anymore. But like Paranormal Activity was really scary for me. But the way you said that there's no jump scares, this stuff, and it's unique in the way they do it, which sounds really interesting. But how it changes your whole perception on like if a certain event happens, if a movie moves you like that, I think that speaks volumes.
I will say this, no spoilers, but there's a part in the movie where literally the entire theater just went. And like me, and I could see everyone else around me literally just stayed like this for minutes.
That's ridiculous, man.
Like, oh my God. So no spoilers, but if you like horror, highly recommend Hereditary. Ryan, you want to talk about something?
Hard pass. Like the hardest of passes that's ever been passed.
Would you rather play The Mind or watch Hereditary?
I would rather watch Hereditary. I would rather.
Oh my God.
For sure.
Like, I'd rather suffer for a 2-hour movie.
Not even a question, because at least the movie's going to be good. I might be scared out of my mind for the rest of my life, but at least I'm not wasting my time.
Oh, this movie's so good.
I mean, I'd rather cripple my life than waste my time.
Oh my God. Is that for real though? You're like if a certain thing happens, you're gonna like be reminded of that.
Oh yeah. Like there were some visual things that I will never forget in this movie.
That's crazy, man. That makes me really interested in it. That's pretty cool.
It's intense, very intense.
I didn't even know that was out, but now I do. Thank you.
Just the girl's face in the preview creeps me out, so I can't.
I type it in and it's like this woman that's like screaming. That's all it is. I'm like, oh God. I don't know if I can handle that, dude. I don't know if I can do it.
Well, you don't have to worry. There's not that like you know, guy opens the mirror, looks in the mirror, closes the mirror, and then there's like a demon face. It's not it's not that kind of a movie. It's not
that's
like
what,
that at all.
That's what you got me like really intrigued by this. That's what
there's no jump scares.
See, jump scares don't bother me at all. I'm okay with jump scares.
I don't know why I can't handle that anymore.
All right, Ryan, talk about a movie.
Oh yeah, so I saw Upgrade. It was good. So the concept of the movie, if you haven't seen the previews, which I don't think they did a very good job of advertising this movie because I saw nothing about it before it was in theaters.
It was a low budget production, though, so they might not have the marketing.
So the whole concept is dude gets paralyzed in the future. It's a future, I don't know how far in the future, I don't remember. Future paralyzed. Yeah, it could be tomorrow, could be 30 years from now, who knows. But eccentric scientist dude has invented a I would call it a microchip, I suppose, that gets implanted into the dude and supposedly bridges the gap between his brain and the rest of his body. So it's a conduit for his brain to relay messages to his muscles / whatever else. But it's also somewhat of a augmented existence for him because it can provide him with information and skills and abilities that he does not have. And kind of the ensuing social commentary on the integration of technology into the human experience and how it will modify and or overtake the way that we currently live our lives. They did a pretty good job of it. I mean, I thought it had some interesting twists that most of which were predictable and one of which I didn't see coming. I don't know why I didn't see it coming. I totally should have seen it coming, but my brain was like, no, that's not going to happen. And then it did. But overall, I mean, it was enjoyable. It's an action flick. Don't get me wrong. I mean, it's an action flick, but there is some social commentary in there as well. Just very deeply buried under murder and
very schlocky, gory action.
Yeah. But the commentary is there. It's just you kind of gotta be looking for it.
Is this very comparable to like I was talking to Ryan about this? It's very comparable to like a Grindhouse film, right?
Yeah.
Like so, if you're into that, if you're into that like Planet Terror, Death Proof type of like just kind of like weird actiony stuff, it's good. It's good.
Well,
it's really good.
Also from I think the director did Insidious.
Oh, Insidious is such a good movie. That's a good movie.
He did some other stuff too. Somebody in it was involved in Saw. I know that there was somebody involved from Saw in there. And you can see all of those influences in this movie for sure. It was good. I mean, it's worth a watch, and it's definitely under the radar. I mean, it gets like 2 or 3 showings a day at my theater, which has 1,000 showings of Solo a day. But it's worth the while, especially if you have a movie pass. I mean, it doesn't cost you anything. So
good point. So Clay, anything else you want to talk about?
No, I'm intrigued by these 2 movies though, especially Hereditary. That does sound like something I want to check out.
One more thing I want to bring up here. So last month I did an interesting thing with movies where I watched series of movies where I haven't seen a lot of them, or at least they deserve to rewatch, or I was just completely oblivious. So like I watched the Twilight movies because I'd never seen any of them and they're awful.
That was a waste of time.
But I watched the entire Halloween franchise, stuff like that. But one thing I was very proud of, I watched chronologically from start to finish every James Bond movie that has ever been made in a row.
Oh my God, that had been painful, man.
I'm very proud of the fact that I did it, but my God, like, man, they like had like this was like Mad Lib. Like, I think they made James Bond movies by Mad Libs. And James Bond goes to the pick a foreign destination, and then bad guy tries to steal pick a whatever thing. Yeah, it really is, like, because every movie, when you watch them in that way, they're identical. And they really don't start to get different until Pierce Brosnan, and then they're just like weird, bad / good / like really odd. Some James Bond movies stand out. So here's what I'll say. Some James Bond movies do stand out because they are very good. I would say, like, For Your Eyes Only, GoldenEye, Casino Royale. Those are some great James Bond movies. Goldfinger, I think was another good one. Dr. No was really good.
The first one, Dr. No.
Yeah. Some of them really stand out because they are god awful. So Die Another Day with Halle Berry was terrible. Moonraker, what the F was happening in that movie is so bad, right? So you have these other ones that really stand out because they are just god awful. But I would say most James Bond movies, it's so hard. Like, I could probably name every James Bond movies. I could not tell you what happened in which one because they all have very generic names. And it, like, which one was Live and Let Die and which one was, A View to Kill, right? Yeah, like they're all just like, was that the one where he was in Japan or the one where he was in India and the bad guy that did this? Or it's just so weird. I just think it's interesting. I would not recommend doing that unless you just have the ability and time to do it. But it was such an interesting endeavor to watch all the James Bond movies. I will say my favorite James Bond is Woody Allen. So
to be fair, there's only currently 24 James Bond movies. So
yes,
man, that's a lot.
Soon to be 25. It's coming.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. Before we go on, what's the favorite? You gotta have a favorite.
Oh, you know what?
Casino Royale.
Yeah,
GoldenEye
is really good, but Casino Royale with Daniel Craig is amazingly good.
Great
like
movie.
that transcends being a good James Bond film to just being a great movie.
Although that is the one where they strap him to that chair and beat him in the balls with
which is so funny because the original Casino Royale that has Woody Allen in it is not really a James Bond movie. It is, but it's like a joke movie. It wasn't part of the whole thing. It was like a joke, right? It's very much like not National Lampoon. What am I thinking of? Who did Holy Grail? Monty Python.
Monty Python.
It feels like a Monty Python James Bond spoofy type thing. It's got Woody Allen in it. He had probably a lot to do with it, but it's such a weird movie. But there is like a throwaway joke, like literally one line about, oh, don't pay any attention to that chair with the hole in it. Like in the middle of the movie, like random throwaway joke in it. And I think that was so funny to watch in that way and see that come back in a real way, in a somewhat serious way in the other Casino Royale. I just thought that was funny. But anyways, spoiler alert.
Spoiler alert for a movie that's been out for a long time.
60 years, right?
Yeah.
All right. So that's what we've been watching. But we're going to kind of go back to the normal podcast and start podcast.
Podcast, yeah, man. Hey.
And we're going to talk about our 5 most anticipated games. So we're going into convention season. Conventions are coming up, and most of us will be at Origins. Ryan, I don't think is going to be able to make it, but you'll be able to catch us at a couple of different conventions coming up. We'll probably be very busy, but you'll be able to see us, say hi. If you tell us that you like the podcast, we're going to be like, oh, what? That's weird. At least I will. I still know how to react to people when they say that. I still can't believe people actually download this and listen to it. But anyways, we're going to talk about 5 games that we're very excited about that are going to be hopefully coming out during this convention season, or at least coming out in the near future. And so we are very excited about games, and these are games that we possibly think you should look at too. So I'll go ahead and kick us off. I don't know much about this, but I am excited about Recolt. Don't know how to pronounce this, but this is like
Colt.
Ray Colt.
Like Ray Colt.
True.
It's Ray's Cult.
Right.
You want to join Ray's Cult?
This is the new game from designer Uwe Rosenberg. His last couple efforts, Nunsfjord was fine. Feast for Odin was whatever. All of these like weird puzzle games, I could take or leave. But Recolt or whatever is
Koji.
Back to his like it's a bigger, heavier game, and I have heard whispers that this might be a return to form for like his Agricola style tightness and heaviness and weight wise. And I'm very excited about that. I'm very interested in it. So if you are a fan of Uwe Rosenberg, this might be one to keep eyes on. I highly recommend looking out for it. It might not be what we're hoping it is, and it might be exactly what you want, but keep your eyes on it. We'll see when it comes out. Don't know that much about it right now, though. Ryan, go ahead. Hit us with something that you're looking forward to.
Yep. So my number 5 is by a guy that I discussed earlier. And I think it's on somebody else's list, maybe not. Yeah,
it's on my list.
Yeah. So maybe you know more about it than I do because I don't know that much about it. But it's a 4X game, I believe, by Cole Worley. And it is Root, in which you are I don't know if you're a particular race or not, but you are a forest animal, I would imagine, race of some sort. And that's really what I know about it, but it looked interesting. I knew more about it when it was on Kickstarter. I had pledged to it for a long time. Something came up and I wasn't able to keep my pledge. But I saw it being played at HeavyCon.
You had to import the mind.
What was that?
You had to import the mind.
Yeah, instead of this, I imported the mind. Bigger mistakes have not been made. So... but that's on my list. I found John Company interesting. Cole seems to have interesting games. I haven't played Infamous Traffic yet. I want to. And this one just falls along the lines of things that I want to play from him. So
awesome. Yeah, I'll talk about it when it gets up on my list. Clay.
Cool.
I think mine might be on other people's lists too.
I'm sure it is.
It is, yeah. So Tzolk'in, everybody knows the new game from the guys.
Yeah, Teotihuacan.
Daniel Teschini, Teotihuacan.
Yeah, that one. That's how you say that.
Whatever, guys. It's the Aztec Mayan game.
Teotihuacan.
Basically, it's a dude. There's a pyramid in the background, and they're doing stuff to it, and it's a Euro game, and I want to play it, so that's what I want to do.
Yeah, man, it's got dice that get better each time you use them for an action. That was interesting. So.
No, it doesn't have that like weird pop out thing, does it?
Weird pop out thing.
I don't even know, man. Daniel Teschini, whatever. I mean, he's done a lot of really good games, and Tzolk'in's really good. I don't think it's going to be like Tzolk'in at all. I think it's going to be something completely different. The way the mechanics work.
Different.
Yeah, a lot of people are like, there's a weird. Be like Tzolk'in, but I don't even think it's going to be in the same ballpark. It's going to be.
Hold on.
The theme is going to be the same, but
here we go. So, what is this thing in the middle here with these tiles? They've got 4 different icons on them, and they're stacked in a pyramid. And clearly, you can take them and put them on your player boards or on some other position. Here you can see them over here in this area.
Yeah, it looks interesting. I mean, I want to try it. It's like the wheel in Tzolk'in. Is it going to be a gimmick with that stuff in there? I don't know.
That wheel wasn't a gimmick, man. That wheel.
It was not a gimmick. It was amazing. I mean, obviously, it stands to this day. It's an amazing game. I'm excited for this one. I really am. NSKN's bringing it out, and they're going to have some demos.
I'm going to talk about a game that I know is on other people's list, and that is Brazil. So, this game has been coming out for. I've been hearing about this game for a long time.
Years now. It's been years.
This is from Paulo and Nuno of Madeira fame.
So good. So good.
It's one of the best games ever made, as far as like heavy Euros go.
Agreed.
They're coming out with Brazil, and I'm not even going to finally, we kind of have like an idea that the Kickstarter is coming this year. They've kind of like officially said that it's coming after they do the Madeira and Zanguo Deluxe Edition, Second Edition, whatever thing. But they said Brazil's going to be after that for sure. So 2019 release, most likely. But all I have to say is this. If this game does not live up to like 3 years of anticipation, I don't know what to say, because they better have something that really blows us away, because I am excited about this game. It's about the gold rush in Brazil. That's all I care about. I'm going to go into it spoiler free, right? For games, but no, I'm excited about it. I'm really interested to see what these guys do. It's an instant back for me. But that's Brazil. So
yeah, agreed. By the way, the announce that it was postponed came 2 years ago. So, and then again 1 year ago.
That's the problem, though, man. Is like you postpone it like that continually. The hype is gonna. I mean, you better do something special.
I mean, what hype though? What's your game is never good on hype to start with.
I'm not talking about hype. I'm talking about okay. Maybe I need to rephrase that and say the game better be phenomenal because people are gonna have high expectations now that it's been delayed so long.
Yeah, I mean. I trust my Portuguese designers to be. I'm
not doubting it. I think it's going to be amazing. I really do.
All right, Ryan, tell us about a game that's already been talked about.
Yep, we already talked about Titihuacan, whatever the hell it's called. So let's move on. Titihuacan, you know.
Okay.
All right, Clay, go ahead. You're up.
Okay. Another one that might be on some people's lists, we'll just mention. We'll talk about it a little bit later, but Brass is finally going to be here soon, so we'll catch up to that in a little bit.
Shipping. It's on the boat. So
it's on the boat.
So it's on the boat. So it's official.
Yeah. It's coming up.
All right. My number 3 that you should watch out for. We already talked about, but I'll elaborate just for a minute. Brute. Brute is so. Cole Worley I haven't played it yet. I'm actually really excited to try to demo it at Origins. But Cole Worley has described this game as a geopolitical game. I don't know what that means, but from the designer of Pax Pamir and John Company, if he says I've designed a geopolitical games about furry
animals,
forest creatures, I'm like,
that's hilarious.
I mean, you don't say no to that. So I'm really excited about it. I told him to set aside a deluxe Kickstarter edition for me. I'm really excited about it. Leader Games seems to be doing some really unique stuff. They've brought Cole on full time. And so Cole Worley is, hesitate to say it, but maybe my favorite designer of all time. Hard to say. But man, he's just so interesting in everything he does. I'm excited about. I love you, Cole. You're my boy. But no, Root looks amazing. Go ahead and tell us about your next game, Ryan.
Yep, I think we already had it, right? I mean, yeah. Number 3, Brazil. Yep. Moving on.
All right.
Ryan's really excited about Brazil.
Right.
Yeah, I think that's going to be awesome. But anyway, the Winsome games, man, I'm excited about them because, again, from HeavyCon, just playing the number of games that I played there, that whole series of Winsome games, I want to find out a way to get on that list that you're on, Joe. I don't know how you did it, but it's honestly, it's like a Yahoo group, and you got to send some weird check or something in the mail. It's like old school.
It's so weird. Honestly, Clay, I would just contact John Bower, and just be like, "Hey, I'm Clay. I run Capstone Games. I'll send you money. Can you just send me a set?" And just because the list is really convoluted, you have to join the Yahoo group, then find out the day that he's going to announce it, and then be on there at that time, refreshing your screen so that when he announces it, you can reply and say, I want one. Then when you reply that you want one, you have to send him a money order. It has to be a money order and a postal money order. You can't go to the bank and get a money order. You have to go to the post office and get a money order. It has to be that kind for $150 and mail it to him.
Yeah, I'm not. I don't have time for that.
Not worth it.
That's that. I don't have time for that. Who can? I just.
But now the friend who gets all of them, so whatever.
I did that last year, and so now I'm on the list. And now he actually emails my email address and says, "Do you want games?" And I say yes, and then I just mail him a money order. So now it's just me sending a money order. But getting on the list is the tough part.
Yeah.
All right.
I don't know. I'm intrigued by the new stuff that he's got coming out. So.
All right. So Clay is interested in. Oh, this is supposed to be a good one. This is supposed to be a good year this year too.
That's why I'm interested.
I mean, they never go. This is going to be a really bad year, guys. We're going to release some really terrible games. You shouldn't get them.
Yeah. So, well, you don't know too much about the Winsomes. Basically, the Winsomes, when they announce what they are, there's like a description, and it says something like Northwestern and South, like is the name, and it says this is a really vicious game about trains and stocks.
Yep.
Where you like, and it's like, well, yeah, it is, I guess. So, anyways, my number 2 is a game that I have been excited about forever. And Clay, do you mind if I talk about this one for a minute? Like the origins of it?
It's on my list too, Joe. So
it's on all of our lists. But yeah, go for it, man.
Okay, I'm going to talk about the origins of this. So Ryan Courtney, good friend of the show, and actually good friend of all of ours. Basically, as a first-time designer, was kind of walking around Gen Con 2 years ago.
It was our first time at Gen Con, so that would be 2016. Yeah.
Yeah, so he kept coming by the booth, and this is when I was working the booth for Clay with Capstone. And Clay was like, you know what, Joe, you really like games. You have a good mind for that stuff. Will you go play this guy's prototype and let me know if it's any good? And I actually played like 5 or 6 prototypes for you that Gen Con, right? Basically, anyone that came up and said I have a prototype, Clay would send me to go play it and give him feedback. And there were a lot of bad ones, right? But if anyone said that they had a heavy game, I'd go try it. I had fun doing it. But basically, Ryan went and set up Pipeline. It was just basically poster board at that time with handmade tiles, very prototypey. And I basically sat down and had him give me the spiel of the game, explain it to me. We played kind of like a little mock-up session of it. And I came back to Clay, and Clay was like, oh, was it bad? Because I had played a lot of bad ones already. And I looked at Clay and I go, you need to make this game. You need to make this game. This game is special. And over the course of the next year or so, I really helped, and I probably played like 20 sessions of this on like a Vassal module that the designer made as Clay really looked more and more into publishing it. And finally, this game is going to be made. Yes. Clay has already announced that he's going to print it. I'll let him talk more about that. But I have a deep love and investment in this game. And I will say I was one of the very first people that got to see it and play it and had a big hand in the development of the game. And I really, really do appreciate all that went into this. And I think the game's amazing. I think it's really great. Ryan, what's your number 2?
It's Pipeline. What? Convenient. That worked out quite well. I have had the opportunity to play it several times as well, kind of in a bit of an iterative process where it's gone from one version to another version to kind of a third version.
Yes.
And now I don't know where it's at anymore. I think it's just the simplified version now.
It's in that third version a little bit of that with some stuff sprinkled in. It's like
I think it's funny because the development went from like crazy broken to so hard it was impossible to play to some new version that I'm really interested to see. But it's been a process.
So it was. I've played at least 3 different versions of it now. I'm pretty sure. Over a period of, I'd say maybe a year. Does that sound right, Clay?
Yes.
About a year. Yes. And I think I have some disagreements about where it should go, but that's maybe just my opinion. It's all good. Don't get me wrong. None of it's bad. It's all good. There's just one version of it that is so incredibly complex that I want to play that I agree it's probably not reasonable to release.
That's not the case, though. I'll touch on them a little bit.
All right. I mean, it's a great game. The game is excellent. There's so many things to manage, and despite the fact that I've played it several times now, I'm pretty sure I still suck. So,
dude, it's hard to be good at that game.
Jesus, it is just so hard to be good.
It's heavy.
Yeah, it's very heavy. And it's really, as you said, it's special. It's something very good. I still want to see what the art looks like there, Clay.
I think you're going to be really excited about this. I'll talk about that.
I'm already excited, so I want to see it.
So I know Ryan Courtney is listening. I just wonder, like, if he's touching himself at this moment. I'm curious.
It is very good. I went so far as to get Ryan to send me a prototype copy, which I'm pretty sure is now outdated. But
yeah, it is. Yeah. There's
all
some
right.
things you can do.
Clay, tell us about a game that you're excited about.
All right. For my number 2 this year, it's The Estates. And we did a Kickstarter on this, which was a wonderful process that we went through, and actually, I really like the Kickstarter thing because it opened up the international markets for us. We weren't in those markets as well as we could have been, and with the Kickstarter, it really opened up opportunities for us to grow internationally outside of North America. And I think 45% of the backers were international backers. So the ability to give the people the game international, I mean, that's a win for me. So I need to focus on that, especially in the future. But the Estates is coming at Essen this year, and we just actually got the wooden samples for the game, and I am blown away by the quality that Panda's put into this game. It is, I mean, you all know that Panda's like a really good manufacturer and everything, but I am just blown away just by the quality of the wooden pieces. The silk screening looks phenomenal. I think this game's gonna, yeah, it's the Panda deal. The game is gonna look amazing on the table. I think it's gonna just, when you see it on the table, you're just gonna be so entranced by it. You're gonna want to know what's going on. It's coming out. We're really starting mass production here next week, so I'm excited, man. I can't say enough about it.
I pledged to that one because I'm a good friend.
I know. I love you, Ryan. I want to give you a giant hug right now.
I already have a copy, but
this is going to be better, though. I mean, it's going to be it's just everything about it. I think you're going to like it.
I'm excited for it. That's why I pledged to it.
And surprisingly, we all found out about Clay's hidden prejudices during the campaign as well.
So that's the thing, man.
How dare you?
Do you want to? We don't have to talk about that, Clay. We can.
No, it's just unfortunate that like it comes off that way. That's not me. That's not who I am.
Oh, I got into so many fights when that happened.
It just, I just don't. I feel like people are out there looking for the negative things and everything, and I just don't understand why. I mean,
that's this thing called the internet, Clay.
You know what?
It's just frustrating. But you know what?
As a publisher,
yeah, you can't let it get to you, and it didn't get to me. I recognize there are different perspectives. Hey, that's all good. I'll cater to that, and we'll make it work. So, and that's what we did.
As a publisher, you should be diplomatic. I don't need to be. I can be an asshole for you. I was so blown away when people literally got on Twitter about the whole ordeal, and we don't need to go into it, but people were like, oh, what the F? Publishers that are trying to hide accessibility behind a paywall. What kind of effing, stuff is that? And all they're doing is parroting something that they saw tweeted or mentioned. They have no context before it. And I'm just sitting here like, do you really think a publisher is sitting there and be like, well, I'll make the game colorblind friendly if I get enough money.
That's exactly how I pictured Clay, actually.
I had a pipe piece like with a old school top hat. And,
yes.
It was by a fireplace in a road.
Clay's like, F the colorblind. You want to play my games? You gotta pay me money, bitch. Like you think that's what Clay was doing? Like
I forgot that this even happened, and now that I'm thinking about it, you actually contacted me to ask my opinion on this bullshit when it happened. I remember now. You were like, "What is this? Like, am I being unreasonable here?" And I'm like, "No, this is just internet bullshit. I mean, there's nothing you can do."
And
it's all good, man. It's all good.
Like
I said, you be diplomatic. We'll be assholes.
People suck, especially the colorblind. I'm kidding.
Oh my God, my brother. Hey, by the way, I have a brother that is fully colorblind, and I just.
Is this like your attempt at saying you have black friends? I don't know what the
I don't know what to say. I mean, I have
my colorblind friend.
I was like, my brothers. I have two brothers and a sister, and they help out a little bit with Capstone.
Well, good for you. Good for you, Clay. I'm glad.
Okay.
I liked that you had to go and throw the sister in there too, because you're like, oh, I can't not include her because
I
then
know,
I'm not.
She'd be like listening to like, man, what you miss? Yeah, what? You didn't say sister. No, yeah.
So
let's move on, please.
Anyways, yes, let's move on.
It seems like a good idea.
I'm gonna talk about my number one most anticipated game. I always have a reserved number one for whatever Splotter might do. I don't know what they might do. They might do nothing. But if Splotter does anything, that's automatically my number one, and everything gets bumped down. So that's like an exception. But beyond that, a game I know is coming out is PAX Emancipation. So this is Phil Eklund's next game in the PAX series, which is his more gamerly series of games that is based upon historical aspects that deal with slavery in the early 19th century or late 18th century. Early 18th century, I guess, would be the more of the right time frame. It's right before the Civil War, but that time frame in the classic historical lens that Phil Eklund likes to view his games through. I think games that say something and mean something and do something in that kind of a realm that make you have conversations is always good, and I'm really excited about this one. And I love the PAX series from Phil. I love everything Phil Eklund does, but the PAX series especially is very special to me. So I'm very excited about this one. It's got some really, really cool pieces in it. So I'm really excited about that. So that's my number one. Ryan, what's your number one, man?
Brass. It's going to come out eventually. It's going to be so good. If you don't know what Brass is, then you should not be playing board games. And also, this new version looks amazing, and that is really all I have to say about it.
Is it Martin Wallace's best game?
Easily.
Okay. Is it better than Age of Steam? I don't think so.
I think it is.
Okay, here's a question for you, for Brass. Are you, as somebody that's excited about this game, are you more excited to get a new version of Brass or like the sister game Brass Birmingham or whatever?
No, I'm more excited for a new version of Brass. I haven't really even looked that deeply into Brass Birmingham. It's just a bonus for me. I saw the art and components in the new version of Brass and went, well, first off, it didn't matter. If they published Brass again, it could have looked like a piece of poop, and I'd have been like, well, I'm still going to get it. It could have had the bus map, right? And I'd been like, well, I mean, whatever.
The bus map.
As long as they didn't like, I don't even know. I'm not sure what they would have had to do. I was going to get it because I love my version with the tiddlywinks, right? So, but the game's amazing. You can argue back and forth whether Age of Steam or Brass is better, or pick a game. It doesn't matter. They're both excellent, right? They're both excellent games. Huh?
It's 1A, 1B, right?
Right. I mean, they're both excellent games. The production value on this one really refreshed a game that could use a refresh. If you look at the older version, it's not terribly intriguing to look at. The components are not particularly well made, which is standard with the older Tree Frog games. But this refresh by
Roxley.
Thank you. I lost track of my publishers. I was like, Renegade. That's not right.
Definitely not Renegade.
By Roxley. They took it balls to the wall with the graphic design and the art and the production value. And then on top of that, they put a variant game in there as well. Stoked.
A lot of
Super
people.
stoked.
Oh,
go ahead.
I was just gonna say a lot of people are stoked about it. I've never played it, and
What?
I know, man.
It's brutal. Just for the record,
I like games like that.
Yeah, it's one of those ones where you will take loans, but take them at the right time and do it appropriately, and then spend all of your money. Spend all of your money. Just always spend your money. Make sure you spend it all.
And now Clay will announce his number one game. This is a paid sponsorship, courtesy of Capstone Games. So Clay, go ahead and announce your number one.
My number one game for this year is The Mind, and I just want to talk about The Mind. Do you guys want to talk about it? We're reprinting it.
Oh my God, I would immediately leave the podcast and never be on it again. So if that's what you're looking for,
we're bringing it to the States, everybody. It's gonna be a big box game. It's gonna be bigger than Nation's Box.
It also includes a copy of Dominant Species, the card game. And
can I talk about Pipeline though? Okay, so let's talk about it. So a lot of people have been speculating on the art. A lot of Vassal modules, a lot of like Slaughter, Food Chain Magnate style looking games that they've seen on Facebook and stuff. But I got to break the news. Ian O'Toole is doing the artwork. Dude,
boom,
rushed it. He took a lot because of the game. For people that know it, there's a lot of different numbers with the markets in the game. There's on the game board, you have a ton of different markets with a lot of numbers looking at you. And then there's also different classes of oil. There's 4 different classes of oil. And then there's also 3 different types of oil. Lots of coding to do when you're looking at the prototype of this game. Ian is a freaking genius, man. This guy took all of that out and made it super functional just by graphics. The iconography in this game is just stunning. You will see it, you'll know what's going on, and it is just so smooth. I am floored by it. We were trying to figure out a way to do this. Ian spent a couple months with it, and he's like, here you go. This is exactly what you need. And it was exactly what we freaking needed. So
are the oils going to be colorblind friendly?
And I'm not joking around when I say this, but yes, they are.
I know you're not joking around. I'm sure you thought of it. So
no, the whole game is colorblind friendly without silk screening either. So there's no silk screening at all that's needed to do that. So
then changes have been made. So
yeah, so a lot of changes. There's some other like minor tweaks to the game board, but as a whole, it's completely the system is there. The game board state is there. We're working on some in-game scoring cards and some of the upgrades that you can get in the game. Just making the artwork on that, but otherwise it is pretty smooth. The version you've played, Ryan, the super complex version, it's been toned down a little bit just because
it's really complex.
Like for people like us, right? We're used to these types of games. And
I'm not sure I'm used to that type of game, by the way. Every time I play it, I'm like, what?
Yeah, exactly. So we don't want to have that high bar for entry. So I definitely want a lot of people to experience it because it's a quick game, relatively less than 2 hours. And it provides a deep experience. So we're going to make it more approachable to people, but it still has that sharp teeth on it, man. It will still be very difficult to do well in the game.
And maybe now there's the world debut of the artwork for Pipeline. Go.
I was going to say maybe there's an option to do the advanced game. I don't know. We'll see how the game goes. But
I think a variant rule should at least be posted on Board Game Geek, like officially. Like if you want a super crazy challenge, here was a version of the game that is playable or that was somewhat playable.
You'd have
it's
to make
crazy.
it a PNP.
No,
right?
it's playable. There's a couple pieces that you need, but that's something we're looking at doing. I want to make it as not streamlined is not the right word, but like smooth of an experience. Like there's not a lot of rules. Like okay, well now I want to do this. This happens. This happens. This happens. That is not this game. It's very, very straightforward. The rules are going to get out of the way really quickly with this game, but the depth there is so much. I think it's deeper than Ark, right? It's hard. It's very hard to do well in this game.
I'm the world's worst route builder, by the way. When I start putting pipes together, I'm like, wait, god damn it, I can't do what I planned on doing because I'm an idiot.
That's the thing with this game, man. It's economic. You're like me of it, but then you also have the spatial element to it where you're building your network, and that's the twist on this game. You have to be good at both, and it just the brain power for it. It's pretty intense. That's all I'm going to say, but I'm excited. That's my number one.
This has been a paid advertisement by Capstone Games. Thank you for listening. All right, we're going to jump in real quick. We'll get through this real fast, but we're going to just real quick talk about Origins. Ryan is not going to be going to Origins. Teardrop. Everybody tweet at Ryan and tell him that he needs to go to Origins. But Clay, tell me what you are looking forward to the most at Origins.
There's 3 quick things. The meetups. There's a bunch of different meetups every night. Wednesday night's a whiskey thing we're doing in the Capstone Games room. Yeah, dude, whiskey, scotch, and bourbon. Bring it. We're just gonna be hanging out. You know, having a couple. Hopefully, playing a couple games here and there. We're probably gonna play the Mind. So Ryan, it's probably not good. They're good that you're not going. So
I'm definitely not coming now because I could drive out there, but
no, you should definitely come, dude. I would miss you big time. The food there obviously is I want to say like the best or second best because PAX Unplugged has some goddamn good food, man. Showing games, hot box chicken, baby. Oh, so good. But
hot chicken takeover, man.
Hot chicken, that's what it is. Yeah, my bad. The deep fried goodness, so good. And then showing games to people. I'm really excited about Carthago. I think that's going to do very well at Origins. It's going to fit that crowd perfectly.
Cool. Well, I'm going to be at Origins too. Some of the things I'm looking forward to is this is kind of an interesting convention for me because this is going to be the first convention that I'm at where I have sold a game with a client, managed that project from creation all the way to it getting shipped, and those clients will actually have their games for sale at Origins. And this will be the first time that that I'll be at a convention where it's like, oh, that's a game I sold and managed, and like I'm a part of the creation of that game. That's so cool.
Which
and
game
so I'm
is
really
that?
excited. Actually, I'll plug them. Dino Dunk by Twin City Games and End of the Trail by Elf Creek Games. The awesome games. They look really beautiful, both of them. I'm really impressed with them. I actually just got a copy of each of those, and I'm pretty stunned with the amount of components that they were able to put in those games. But yeah, looking forward to those. Also, I'm really looking forward to hanging out with Cole Worley. We've got a breakfast planned, but he's going to have a copy of PAX Pamir 2nd Edition, and I am also going to get him to teach me Root. I'm super pumped about it. I'm really excited to kind of hang out with him, and of course, the food. Origins food is so good. I'm going to give you a hot tip. North Market, great. But I'm going to tell you something. There is a little hidden gem that is not North Market. There's a place called Brassica, and it is basically a Middle Eastern Chipotle. All right, you get your pita bread, and you kind of go through what kind of meat do you want, what kind of this, what kind of that. It is so good, like unbelievably good, and I'm just really, 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 really excited.
Wait, you're talking about
that's
that
where
place at the North Market?
No, this is on Short North above.
Oh, I don't know that place.
You got to go.
Have you been there, Clay?
No, I'm looking at it right now. But now I'm going to go there because of you. Thank you, sir.
It's so good. I'm telling you. And get the cauliflower as a side. Get a side of cauliflower. No, I know it'll blow your mind. It will blow your mind. All right. Anyways. All right. So we got a couple questions that we're going to answer, and we're going to be done with this thing. Real quick. Ryan is ready to go to bed. So I am 4:30. All right. So first of all, tell us about. We've talked about a couple of games today, but somebody wrote in and said, "Can you guys recommend to me a game that you think is super underrated and does not get enough love? Please recommend something to me that you consider an underrated game that deserves more love." What do you guys think? What is a super underrated game that you think deserves more attention than it gets?
Come back to me.
I got two. One I've heard from Heavy Cardboard, Pixie Queen. I've got it on the shelf. Have not played it, but it's if you like mean games where you're struggling and you're going to be getting penalty points, that's a good game. And then Aaron Thompson, he talks about Walled City, and I think you can get it for super cheap. I heard it's really good. Those are the two games I would recommend.
He is a champion of that game. So I'm going to go real quick. I am a champion of this game. I am an apostle, an acolyte, I am a crier for this game. It is Archipelago. This is such an amazing game that gets no love from the heavy game community, mostly because people don't play it. But this game has one of the most intrinsic market aspects that I've ever seen in a board game. Very interesting end game conditions, resource management. It is a phenomenal game that deserves more love, and it is beautiful and stunning. And as a second part, I'll say also check out Brewcrafters. I think Brewcrafters gets a bad rap as just being an Agricola clone, and I think it's much more than that. I think it is a different version of Agricola that gives you different options to play with. But Archipelago is amazing. It's a top 10 game for me of all time. It is really, really great. And I think if you like heavy games, you should at least give it a shot because it is amazing. Ryan?
Okay, I can come up with several, and I don't know if any of them are really way low on the radar, kind of like Archipelago's not that low on the radar, things like that. But still underappreciated in my opinion. So I'm going to go number one. Let's put it out there. I lost it already. My brain just stopped working again. Reef Encounter. Oh my God, Reef Encounter.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
So that's, yeah, I know you have it, and I know you have the old original one.
Oh, no, I'm not getting it.
So Reef Encounter, just not enough play out there. I don't understand it. Everybody loves the key games, but for some reason, Reef Encounter just flies underneath everybody's radar. Another one that's kind of in that line of things that people don't play enough, and I know, again, a lot of people have played it, but Goa. I don't know why more people don't play Goa. That's a great game. And then lastly, Antics. If any of you guys ever played Antics?
No, it sounds like an old person's game. Like, you want to play some Antics?
It's actually about ants, but it's an older, well, not older, I guess. It's only about 8 years old now at this point. But an older Lamont Brothers game, Fragor, the Fragor.
Ah, that's weird.
Where you are making an ant colony and transporting resources. It's a route building game, but there's this interesting tile laying aspect of playing these kind of double hexagon, or I think they're double hexagon tiles that you stack on top of one another, and based on how high the action is that you want to take, you can take it that many times. So building this thing, you may cover up actions so you're never able to do them again, but you can also make a particular action especially good so that you can, of course, take it multiple times. So those three are and I could come up with probably a dozen more, but
yeah. All right. So next question that somebody wrote in and asked about, and this is something that we can probably all relate to, is I don't get a lot of time to get together with my gaming group, and my spouse is really the only gaming partner I have. Can you recommend some opinions on how to get my wife to play games with me, and what kind of games to play with her? What kind of gaming do you guys do with your spouses? Okay, I'll field this one. My wife is a gamer. We don't get to play nearly enough together as we want to. But one thing that we do try to do very often, and it used to be weekly, we've kind of taken a little bit of a break, but we're definitely getting together this week. We have another couple that comes over to our house. Try to be once a week. But Megan and Paul Naxer, and they come over to our house. We try to do it weekly, and they play games with me and my wife. We have very similar tastes in games. We like heavier Euros and good medium weight Euros, auction games. We have very similar tastes in games. And they're great. And I would recommend, if it's hard for you and your wife to make the time together, plan something with another couple. That way it's like a set thing, and you like it's like a thing that you have to do, right? Because you've made an appointment. People are coming over, so you have to do it. There's so many reasons to just keep watching Netflix if it's just the two of you, or to ignore it, or to just not play a game because it's easier to just do nothing. But if you have another couple coming over to play with you, you're kind of required to play a game when they get there. So I would recommend finding another gaming couple and having them over on a semi-regular basis. So that's my advice.
I like that.
Right. Yeah, I mean, similarly, just have a game night at your house. I mean, the same concept, right? I mean, I play everything with my wife because my wife is a better gamer than I am. So, I mean, anything from The Mind to pick heavy game, right? What's the heaviest game I can think of that I've played?
1846.
There you go. I've played 1846 with my wife at our house.
Yeah.
So I think Joe's suggestion is a really good one. Or alternately, if your wife doesn't want to play games, don't make her play games.
If you're going to try a game, I would do something like, my thing is like, Joe's got the best advice, I think, is really just doing that. But also, like, Patchwork is really, really good for a game, and it's got some depth to it that you can really kind of branch out from. I think Patchwork's a really good jumping off point.
That's a good recommendation.
I keep trying to get Clay to move up here where I'm at, and Clay could have a.
I know, man. Cleveland's got a hot spot for gaming, a big hot spot. Holy cow!
Yeah. All right. The next thing that we're going to talk about, and hopefully this won't take too long, but I do want to have a discussion about this really quick. Group-dependent games. So this is really just kind of a discussion we're going to have real quick. The one thing that I got into an argument with Aaron Thompson. We've name-checked him a lot. But I played QE, and he liked it, and I didn't. And the first thing he said to me was, "Oh, you probably didn't play with the right group." And I got so defensive. Like I was like, when he said that to me, I was like, you know what? F you, dude. I have a great gaming group. We were so into this, that kind of thing. And I think the mind, that's another thing where people are like, oh, I hate the mind. Like, oh, you just didn't play with the right group. Like, if you don't like a game, that's like the first thing people jump to is, this is, you just don't have the right group for this game. And I'm like, I don't think that's the case. I think sometimes games are just good or bad, regardless of the group that you're playing it with. But do you really think that the group makes the game? Do you think that like you have to have the right group to play John Company or Sidereal Confluence that have negotiation? Like if you have the wrong group, is it a bad game? Or if those games are good, are they still good regardless of what group you play them with?
I think you have to be comfortable with the people you're playing with to play those types of games, like QE and the Mind. And I don't know about the Mind, maybe not the Mind, but QE. Like I don't know. I just think there's certain games where some people are not going to be comfortable being themselves and being more extroverted in that sense to play the game the way that it's meant to be played. I could be wrong in that statement, but for me, yeah, that's the thing. Some games are built around that aspect. Like Agricola, you can play that with any group, and it's going to be a great game regardless of who you play it with. But you don't think so? I meant like, okay, like, yeah, a person that likes, Fantasy Flight stuff isn't probably going to like Agricola, but
Hear me out.
Okay.
Hear me out. You sit down to a game of 1846. Let's pick 1846 and just be absolutely ridiculous. And you sit down to that game and you've got a group of experienced players who make quick decisions, who know what they're doing, who are intelligent individuals. Correspondingly, you sit down to the same game, 1846, with a group of idiots.
What in this case, idiots though? Like, what do you mean idiots?
Literally, they're too dumb to understand the game.
Well, then why would you even do that?
But this is the case of a point that you don't always know who you're sitting down with when you play a game. And an individual player or a group of people in that game can ruin the game experience for you. I'm taking it to an extreme, right?
Yeah.
But at the same point, it helps make the point in that if I sit down to a game with somebody that I don't know, and it turns out that I just hate the way that they play games, maybe they make bad decisions and they just don't care. And I've had this before where somebody just decides in the middle of the game they're going to start doing random things that neither benefit them nor have any motivation to further some portion of the game. Their whole goal in the game is chaos. And so in those situations, the group or the people you are playing with can absolutely ruin a good game.
The experience of the game, yes.
They don't ruin the game. Don't get me wrong. The game is still a good game, but it doesn't mean that I'm going to enjoy playing it.
But you would agree that the game is good because the mechanics are there.
Sure. I mean, just because a player sucks doesn't mean the game is bad.
That's my point.
But it doesn't
I want to pull this back from Ryan's extreme to the middle and talk about more the middle. So I have a heavy game group that likes heavy, unique, weird games. We have very synchronized taste in games. We usually feel the same way about games. We usually don't play a game and like half of us are like, this sucks. And the other half are like, this is great. And we really were excited about trying out QE. And the fact that like I didn't like it and the automatic go-to was, oh, you just don't have the right group for that kind of game, made me so angry because I'm like, I do have the right group. I wasn't playing this with like my little sisters, right? I was playing this with other people that enjoy similar games. I had the right quote unquote group. And sometimes I just feel like sometimes a game is just bad for people and you're entitled to like it. But I don't think blaming if somebody doesn't like a game that you like and just telling them that it's not good because you didn't play with the right group is not a good thing to say because I think that's very rarely the case. I think it's rare that you play a game and the reason you don't like it is you played with the wrong group.
So Joe, your issue isn't necessarily the comment you played with the wrong group. It's the naivety of thinking that you didn't have the right group that's the issue.
No, it's the idea that is kind of a go-to for people when you say, I don't like this game, and you have a rational thought to you why you don't like that game. But people that do like that game often will use the argument, you're not playing with the right group. I think
I've never
often,
gotten that.
Really?
I have gotten that I don't understand games before, or that I just clearly didn't get it, like, which is always a fun comment. I've gotten that. Well, you just don't understand the game.
Like PAX Renaissance, I'm like, I don't know what happened, but it's over.
Yeah, I get that one a lot. You don't understand the game, and I'm like, okay, apparently I don't quote get it, but I've never had somebody been like, well, it's clearly the wrong group.
Okay. Well, so that's a discussion that I wanted to have, and we had it. I don't know if you can take anything away from that, but group dependent
doesn't like being told that. That's what I got.
That's
what I took from it.
This is just me yelling at you, Aaron Thompson. Aaron Thompson, screw you, dude. You don't have the right group, okay? Your group sucks. That's what's up.
So
You play Ticket to Ride, and Ticket to Ride is a stupid game, and you're dumb, and no one likes you, Aaron Thompson.
Hey, Ticket to Ride's a good game. I don't care what you say.
He's gonna actually listen to the audio of this, so I think that's funny. So I'm just like, I'm just gonna wait for him to like hear this, and he's immediately gonna instant message me on Facebook. He's just gonna be like, "What?" So, anyways, I love you, Aaron. I'm just kidding, but anyways, so that being said, we are the Deep End Podcast. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for listening. Honestly, if you want to yell at us because we don't talk about Jesus enough, you can email us at thedeependgames@gmail.com, especially Ryan, because Ryan loves Jesus.
I love getting yelled at, actually, probably more than anything. The angry emails drive me. So
if you want to send an angry email on behalf of Jesus, please send those to thedeependgames@gmail.com. I would just love for that guy to listen again, because we honestly, I'm not mad that you sent that email, guy. It's just funny to us.
It was amusing to me.
Yes, it was fun.
I'm not angry about it.
It wasn't a bad email. It's just interesting that he thinks that was something that would motivate us in any way. Don't join our guild on BGG. Don't go to our Facebook page. Don't join our Slack channel.
No.
Don't do any of those things. But you can tweet at us personally, because we all are very active on Twitter. My Twitter is Cardboard Truth. You can find Ryan. Where can they find you?
At Slacker, SLAQR.
All right. And if you would like to see pictures of Clay wearing one of those like bikini long things with like the elephant trunk, where can they find you on Twitter? Where are those pictures available?
That is that's a secret website you can't go to. So
I'll tweet it out
that's
later.
That's behind a paywall.
Yeah, Capstone_games. That's where we're at.
All right. And so reach out to us on Twitter. We will talk to you. We are more than happy to. If you see us at a convention and you like our podcast, then let us know. We will act awkward and be like, okay. And if you don't like our podcast, throw a Frosty at us as you run by.
Ooh, Frosties are good.
But make sure it's got a lid on, and that you also have a spoon taped to the side.
Did you ever see Weatherman, where like Nicolas Cage is like a famous weatherman in Chicago, and people will drive by and just throw like drinks at him or Frosties. And there's like a scene where he's like with his dad, and like somebody drove by and threw a Frosty at him, and his dad walks out like, "What happened to you?" He's like, "Oh, someone threw a Frosty at me." And he's like, "What's a Frosty?" He's like, "It's a chocolate milkshake drink." And he's like, "Why did they throw it at you?" He's like, "It happens a lot. I don't know." It's just a great scene. And that's where we're going to end it. Thanks, everybody. Bye.